Diapers, late nights, sick kids with burning foreheads, school runs in the rain, bandaging scraped up knees, juggling part-time gigs, then staying late at the factory to make extra pay. Every bit of it was me. No one else. Just me. And now here I was, dropped into a stiff linen chair inside a high-end venue looking out over Lake Shasta, surrounded by people who would never in their lives touch the kind of pickup truck I left parked out back. Before we continue, please subscribe to stay updated on our latest stories. The family table was crowded with faces I did not know. Sharp suits, polished jewelry, perfect nails, and little sideways glances that made it clear I did not belong in their world. Some woman from the groom's side, looked like an aunt maybe, shot her eyes at my shoes, leaned over, whispered to her husband. They both laughed. Across from me, a guy in one of those fleece vests that scream tech money smirked while I picked up the place card and stared at it too long. I felt like I had wandered into a country club costume ball, only no one told me it was not Halloween. 2 seats down, a younger man actually snorted. Guess they had to invite the janitor, he muttered, thinking I could not hear. I heard every word. I kept my mouth shut, just slid my chair back and stood up slow. I was not about to give them a scene. I was not going to waste my energy figuring out who scribbled that name card or how many of these smug people thought I was just some tag-along guest. A pity invite. I just wanted air, wanted to leave. My daughter Morgan was standing across the room with her new in-laws. She was glowing. Her dress was white silk, her hair done in soft waves, her smile wide and alive. They were raising glasses, laughing like nothing in the world was wrong. Maybe, for them, nothing was. Maybe I really did not fit here anymore. Maybe my chapter was over and I had refused to turn the page. I turned my back on them. I did not say goodbye. I could feel the sting in my throat, and I was not about to cry in front of these people. I was not going to hand them that kind of victory. Then the music cut out. The microphone hissed. The chatter dropped flat like someone killed the lights. I spun around and saw Morgan standing right in the middle of the dance floor, barefoot now, clutching her fiancé's hand, but not gently. She pulled the mic close and said, clear as day, I am done. Her voice never wavered. We are leaving. At first the guests laughed, thinking it was some prank, but it was not. She let go of his hand, stepped off the floor, and headed straight toward me. The disc jockey just froze with his laptop like it might blow up. Her groom stood there blinking, like somebody slapped him awake. Morgan grabbed my arm and said, come on, we are not staying. I hesitated. Morgan, what the hell is this? She just shot back, I will explain in the car. So we walked out. Her dress dragged through flower petals and spilled champagne as she marched straight through that glittering hall, past whispering bridesmaids and wide-eyed guests. Nobody stopped her. She did not turn her head. I did not either. We drove off and said nothing for 50 minutes straight. Just the tires on the road, the sound of her bare feet tapping against the pedals on the floorboard, and the swish of her dress every time she shifted. Her makeup still looked flawless, barely smudged, but her jaw was clenched like she was holding back words that could tear the air in half. Her phone was still synced to the car stereo, wedding playlist on loop. I leaned over and shut it off. Neither of us argued. She steered toward Fresno like she already knew the way. My place is not fancy, just a one-story with a busted fence and peeling paint. But the mortgage is mine, the bills are always paid, and it has been home ever since she left for college. She parked out front and just sat there, both hands locked on the wheel like she was bracing for a crash. Finally, she let out a long breath and turned her face toward me. I saw the card before you did, she said, eyes straight ahead. At the rehearsal dinner, it was already on the table. I stared at her. And you still let today happen? I had to be sure, she answered. I needed to see if they would really go through with it, and they did. She opened her small clutch, pulled out her phone, unlocked it without a second thought. No warning. Watch this. She hit play and held it between us. The recording was sharp, too sharp. Her fiancé's father, Kenneth Ashford, stood at the bar with his tie loose and a glass of scotch in his hand. I mean, the guy is basically a handyman with a mop, he said. I looked at his house on Google Maps. It is barely above Section 8 housing. Someone off camera laughed. Then the groom's mother chimed in. Do not be mean. He is a janitor, not a handyman. Let us call him by his real title. More laughter. Then the camera swung and caught Trevor, her fiancé, grinning like it was the best joke he ever heard. Cannot wait until she realizes she could have had her real dad walk her down the aisle, Trevor said. You know, the one who does not clean floors for a living. The video ended. My heart did not. I leaned back in the seat, eyes on the dark street outside. The only thought pounding in my head was this. They all knew. Every last one of them. And after all that, they still smiled right in my face. Her real dad, I muttered under my breath. That piece of trash disappeared before she even cut her first tooth. Morgan turned toward me, her face flat, her voice steady. I told them he was gone. I told them who raised me. They did not care, I said quietly. My voice cracked, and I hated myself for it. Why did you not tell me all this before today? I could have stayed home. She shook her head, because it was never just about me or about you. It was about watching people for who they truly are. I needed to see them show it. I needed proof. I looked at her, stunned. So you went through with the wedding just to trap them? I did not marry him, she said sharply. She popped open the glove box and pulled out a folded manila envelope, dropped it in my lap like it was nothing. Never signed the prenuptial agreement, she said. I had my own attorneys review it, make changes, and send it back. They ignored it. So I never signed, which means it is worthless. I opened the envelope. Inside was a stack of papers, legal filings, notarized documents, timestamps, all locked down in her name. Clean, tight, ironclad. You had a lawyer? I asked. I have had a lawyer since March, she answered. Family counsel, confidential. I shook my head. How long have you been working on this? She looked at me like I had just asked the dumbest question in the world. Since I started building something worth protecting. I frowned. And what exactly do you mean by that? She pulled out her phone again, tapped the screen a few times, and turned it toward me. It was a website, a professional homepage with her photo right there. Veritech Diagnostics, predictive diagnostics for preventative care. That is yours? I asked. I am co-founder, she said. We are already in Series C funding. Valuation is sitting around $75 million. I blinked, stunned. You never told me any of this. She just shrugged. I did not want to jinx it, and I did not want anyone to think I got there because of them. I sat back, holding her phone like it might burn through my skin. My daughter, the same girl who used to build robots out of old toaster parts, was now someone investors chased after, and I had not known. She slid the phone back into her purse and said, They thought they were marrying up. I looked at her hard. And you let them believe it. Damn right I did, she said, swinging the door open and stepping barefoot into the gravel. I followed her inside. The place smelled like old leather and dust, the way it always did. She kicked off her shoes by the door like when she was a teenager, then headed straight for the kitchen. She pulled 2 beers from the fridge like it was second nature. That was when it hit me. She had never really left. She slid 1 bottle across the table to me, then sat down and started peeling the label off hers. She looked calm on the outside, but her eyes were sharp and focused, like a storm waiting just off the coast. She took a sip, then reached into her overnight bag and pulled out another manila folder, thicker this time, heavier. She dropped it in front of me, and it hit the table with a heavy thud. Open it, she said. I raised a brow but did what she asked. Inside were stock certificates, legal agreements, purchase records, all stamped and signed. The first read Clearview Holdings. The rest carried the same name. What is this? I asked slowly. That is my trust, she said. I have been buying into Ashford Medical Supply for the last year. I stared at her. You bought stock in Trevor's family company? No, she said, leaning forward. I bought control. My mouth went dry. How much? 42%, she answered. As of last week. I looked back down. The documents were perfect, tied through holding companies, some in Nevada, some in Delaware. The kind of structure only serious money people use when they want to stay invisible. That is how they never saw you coming, I muttered. She gave a single nod. They thought I was just some science nerd who would play along with their little empire. They did not realize I already had one of my own. She explained. I used dividends from Veritech and the inheritance Grandma left me. Remember when I asked you to help open that trust account 3 years ago? Yeah, I said slowly. That was the start. I pushed the papers back and sat heavy in my chair. So you were sitting on this the whole engagement? I was not sitting, she said firmly. I was digging. She pulled out another folder, this one black leather, the kind high-end executives walk into court with. Inside were spreadsheets, flagged documents, and chains of internal emails. She spread them across the table like puzzle pieces. Here's their inventory discrepancy report, she said. They claimed $15,000 in losses last quarter. The real number is closer to $60,000. And here's their vendor list. Look at this company, ProMed Solutions, charging Ashford 15% above cost. Guess who owns it? Trevor's uncle. She slid another stack across the table. Here's their Federal Drug Administration compliance report. It is falsified. I paid an outside agency to re-audit every line. I stared down at the mess in front of me. I never went to college, but I know the smell of rot when it hits, this stank of lies, greed, and cover-ups. They are not just careless, she said, tapping the paper. They are reckless. Once this gets out, nobody will touch them. I shook my head slowly. Morgan, this is a war. Her eyes lit up. Exactly. She pulled 3 more documents from her folder. Signed proxy agreements. 2 from minority shareholders, 1 from a board director, Patricia Foster. Together, they control about 14%. They are tired of the Ashfords running this place like their personal piggy bank. I have been working them for months. Patricia promised to stand with me if I could hit quorum. I squinted, trying to keep up. So with their backing, you can force an emergency vote and win it. She nodded. And what do you need me for? I asked. That was when she laid down one last sheet. Slim, direct, a proxy authorization form. I am giving my vote to you, she said. I just stared. What? I'm still a stakeholder, but you hold the voting rights, at least for now. Optics matter. They can scream, I'm just a bitter ex-fiancé all they want, but if they have to answer to you, the man they sneered at, they will choke on it. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned. I looked down at the form. Why me, Morgan? You built this. You should finish it. I will finish it, she said, leaning closer. But this part, this is yours. They mocked the man who kept the lights on by pulling double shifts, the man who ate leftover spaghetti so his daughter could buy robotics kits. They laughed about him in their club like he was dirt. Now that same man is going to sit at the head of their boardroom. My hands trembled on the table, not from fear, from something I had not felt in years. Pride and rage, both tangled together. You really want me in that chair? I asked. I want you at the head of it, she said. You are certain? She smiled, not like a daughter this time, but like a commander passing the last order. I have never been more certain. I picked up the pen and signed. She closed the folder, calm as if nothing had just shifted the earth beneath us. Meeting is Tuesday, she said. Be ready, and wear a real suit. I do not own a real suit. You will. She drained her beer and dropped the empty bottle in the sink with a sharp clink. Then she walked off toward the spare bedroom, like she had never moved out, like it was just another night home from school. I stayed in the kitchen, palms flat against the table, papers spread out in front of me. That was when it hit me. My daughter had not come back looking for help. She had come back with a battle plan. And it was not tears or hugs she offered me, it was leverage. Tuesday morning, she tossed a garment bag at me. Charcoal gray. Tailored. You will thank me later. I pulled it out, stiff fabric still wrapped in plastic. I was used to canvas pants and steel-toe boots, not polished leather shoes. But I put it on, buttoned it, laced the shoes she had left by the door. When I caught my reflection, I did not see a janitor anymore. I saw the man they were about to regret underestimating. At 9:06 in the morning, 6 minutes past the start, we walked into Ashford Medical's headquarters. Morgan did not knock. She shoved open the frosted glass doors like the place belonged to her. Every head turned. 12 people around a long mahogany table. Crystal water pitchers. Notepads laid out neat, like they were waiting for a product demo instead of a reckoning. Kenneth Ashford sat at the far end in a navy suit that probably cost more than my first car. He shot to his feet the second he saw us. You are not allowed in here, he snapped. Morgan's face didn't flinch. Read your own bylaws. This is a closed executive session. I am an executive, and so is my proxy. She pointed straight at me. Kenneth's jaw tightened like he swallowed glass. You are bluffing. Morgan calmly reached into her briefcase and laid a single sheet in front of him. Filed Monday, verified by the corporate secretary. You were copied. I saw the state stamp in the corner. Legal. My name bold across the top. At the far end of the table, someone cleared their throat. One of the other board members, a woman with sharp eyes and a silver necklace, flipped through her own packet. It is valid, Kenneth. I saw the filing myself. Kenneth sank back into his chair, jaw locked. Morgan faced the room. I am submitting new business. Emergency item. Executive vote. Her tone was steady as she laid it out. Breach of compliance protocol, financial misconduct, negligent governance. Half the table stiffened in their seats. Kenneth barked out one bitter laugh. You think you can just stroll in here and pull a coup? Morgan did not flinch. I am not guessing, Kenneth. I know. She stepped forward, opened her folder, and began passing around packets of red flag documents like a teacher dropping tests on desks. No drama, just paper and fact. Vendor fraud. ProMed Solutions, tied to your brother. Overbilled this company by nearly $1.5 million over 4 quarters. Internal losses misstated in quarterly reports. False Federal Drug Administration documentation submitted last September to push through a warehouse expansion. One man at the table flipped pages faster. Another pinched the bridge of his nose. Someone whispered, Jesus Christ. Kenneth's face reddened. Baseless. Then prove it, Morgan shot back. Vote to audit. Kenneth shot to his feet again. This company has been in my family 50 years. We built it from nothing. You think you can just... Your legacy ended when you started funneling fake invoices through shell companies. Morgan cut him off. You did not build this. You gutted it. For the first time, Trevor, his son, opened his mouth. His voice was low. Morgan, come on. It does not have to go this way. Her eyes turned ice cold. You already made it this way. The silence that followed pressed on everyone. Then Morgan drew a breath and nodded toward me. My proxy, Ryan Mitchell, is prepared to call the vote, along with shareholders Patricia Foster, Michael Torres, and Jessica Hamilton. Patricia, the sharp-eyed woman, raised her hand. Confirmed. Michael and Jessica followed. Together it made 56%. Kenneth's face drained white. He looked at his brother, then his nephew. Neither moved. I move, Morgan said clearly, to remove Kenneth Ashford, Gerald Ashford, and Trevor Ashford from all executive authority effective immediately. I stood up, steady. I second. Patricia took the lead. All in favor? Hands went up. 5, 6, 7, 8. Majority. Motion carries. Kenneth's voice cracked. You cannot do this. Morgan leaned across the table, calm as ever. You handed me your trust, Kenneth, and I used it. You handed me your arrogance, and I weaponized it. Kenneth collapsed back into his chair, hollow-eyed. Trevor stayed frozen, staring down at the polished table like if he never looked up, it might all disappear. Patricia rose. Final order of business. Interim chair appointment. Candidate? Ryan Mitchell, Morgan said. I stayed still, but she gave me one sharp nod. Stand. I stood. Votes? Patricia asked. The same hands went up. 8. Motion passed. Congratulations, Chair Mitchell. The room tilted for a second, but I steadied myself. No smile, no speech, just a nod as I sat back down. Kenneth shoved his chair back and stormed out, his brother trailing him. Trevor lingered for one painful heartbeat before Morgan caught his eyes. This was never about love, she said flatly. Trevor blinked. What? It was about legacy. She slung her bag over her shoulder, and that was that. We walked out. No applause, no victory parade. Just the sound of heels on tile and the heavy boardroom door closing behind us. Out in the lobby, Morgan finally let out a breath, shoulders dropping for the first time all day. I said nothing. She grinned at me. Nice suit. Better takedown. We stepped into the sunlight. I squinted at the sky, still stunned. 3 weeks ago, I had grease under my fingernails. Now I was chairing a multi-million-dollar company I had not even known was mine to claim. Morgan tossed her briefcase into the trunk like it was just another Tuesday. We climbed in, quiet for a minute. The engine hummed. Air conditioning clicked on. I leaned back, staring out the window. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I said, just trying to wrap my head around it. She chuckled under her breath. I have been planning this for years. You walked in 3 days ago and handled it like you have been doing it your whole life. I did not feel like a pro. I felt like the same man who once changed his shirt in a gas station bathroom between shifts because being 5 minutes late would have cost him hours of pay. You know what kept running through my head in there? I asked her quietly. While they were sitting around that table, I kept seeing myself back in the garage, wiping oil off my hands with the same old rag I'd been using all week. Morgan stayed quiet. I'd work day shifts at the body shop, come home, heat up whatever leftovers were still in the fridge, then drive across town for the night janitor job at the mall. Years of that. Sometimes I'd fall asleep standing up in a supply closet. My throat tightened. I missed your second grade recital because I was on my knees cleaning puke off the food court tile. She reached over, placed her hand on mine for a moment. Not soft, not a pat. Solid. You did what you had to do, she said. I nodded slowly. I didn't even know if you ever noticed. Her voice came back steady. I noticed everything. I believed her. We pulled into the driveway just past noon. The sun beat down hard. I peeled off the blazer and slung it over my shoulder. Morgan went straight to the kitchen, filled 2 glasses with lemonade like she hadn't just carried out a hostile boardroom takeover. I sat at the same table, same chair as a few nights ago. Same house, different world. She set a drink in front of me and slid a slim, legal-size envelope across the table. What now? I asked. This, she said, is the final paperwork for the trust transfer. It moves Ashford into a public equity fund with healthcare access clauses. We keep the majority stake under a nonprofit arm, but it shuts down personal profiteering. You and I, she pulled out a pen, are the last co-signers. I opened the folder. Mitchell Health Equity Public Trust. Her name as founder, mine as interim chair. You sure you want to do this? I asked. Yes, she said. This was never about revenge, Dad. It was about flipping the system that tried to swallow us. I looked at her, and for a heartbeat, all I saw was the little girl in overalls under the counter at the shop, eating crackers while I wrestled brake lines. You remember prom night? I asked. Your dress zipper jammed and you were panicking, and I was outside fixing some stranger's radiator. She laughed. I was 15 minutes late and still made the pictures. You didn't even charge that guy. I didn't get his name either, I said. Just saw his car smoking and his kid crying in the back seat. I remember, she said softly, I remember thinking, one day I'm going to fix things for him too. I blinked fast and looked down at the table. She reached under it, pulled up a black garment bag, unzipped just enough to show a lighter gray suit inside, slim cut, finer cloth. That's for the next meeting, she said. Custom fit. I tried to wave her off. I'm not going to live in suits, Morgan. She set the bag on the back of my chair and leaned in behind me. You're not standing behind me anymore, she said. You're standing beside me. I couldn't turn around. My throat locked up. My eyes went hot. I pressed a knuckle against the corner like I had dust in it, though we both knew better. She said nothing more. Let me sit with it. A few minutes later, we sat shoulder to shoulder and signed the last of the trust papers. No lawyer in the room, no notary. Just us and a witness on Zoom who barely spoke 3 words. When the e-signature flashed green, I leaned back and stared at the screen. It was done. We'd handed the Ashford Empire over to a trust built for medical access, compliance, transparency, things that actually mattered. I didn't feel like we'd stolen it. I felt like we'd taken it back. 3 weeks later, a knock came just after 10. I was half asleep on the couch, watching some car restoration rerun with a ginger ale in my hand. The knock wasn't loud, firm, but not neighborly, and too hesitant for a cop. I opened the door wearing sweatpants and a faded t-shirt. Trevor stood there, his tie crooked, shirt wrinkled, hair a mess. He looked like he hadn't slept right in days. Bloodshot eyes, jaw scruffy, hands fidgeting. Mr. Mitchell, he started, voice low. Please, I just need 5 minutes. I need to talk to Morgan. I stayed put, leaning into the doorframe, arms crossed. You called me a prop, I said. Now you're standing on my porch asking for mercy. His face twisted. It wasn't like that. I didn't mean it. I was drunk. I was trying to... Save face, I cut in. That's all you ever did. He tried again, but I stepped outside and pulled the door nearly shut behind me, blocking his view into the house. Let me guess, I said. Your father's frozen out. Board brought in an outsider, family name circling the drain. Now you show up with your tail between your legs, hoping Morgan's got a patch kit for you, I said. Trevor's head dropped. I didn't think she'd actually go through with it. That's been your blind spot all along, I told him. You never believed she could finish anything without you. You thought she needed you to prop her up. He looked up, eyes darting toward the door behind me. Can I at least talk to her? I didn't answer. From inside, I heard soft footsteps on the hardwood. Morgan's voice came, steady and cool. It's okay. I stepped aside. She walked out barefoot, dressed down in leggings and a hoodie, hair pulled back, no makeup, no stage face. Trevor took a half step toward her and then stopped himself. She didn't move closer either. She stayed at my side, arms crossed. Her eyes were clear, sharp, not flaring with anger, but worn out, the kind of tired that comes from carrying other people's mess for too long. "You don't get to twist this," she said quietly. "Not here. Not now. Now you're here with your tail tucked, hoping Morgan's got some patch kit to fix the hole you punched in your own boat," I told him. Trevor dropped his head. I know. I panicked. My dad, he's blaming me, says I should have stopped you, says I embarrassed the family." Morgan's voice cut in sharp. "Your dad embarrassed himself. You just followed the path he laid out." Trevor swallowed hard. "I never signed off on that card, I swear." "But you never said a word either," Morgan shot back. "I thought it was a bad joke," he said, fumbling. "You laughed," she said coldly. "You stood there and laughed while your mother called me the janitor's daughter, while your father sneered at mine as some handyman charity case. You could have stopped it. You didn't." His hands shook as he dug into his jacket pocket and pulled out a wrinkled sheet of paper. "I wrote something. I know it won't fix everything, but—" "I don't want an apology," Morgan cut him off. She reached into her hoodie and pulled out a plain white envelope. She held it toward him. He hesitated. "What's this?" "Cease and desist," she said, matter of fact. "Covers personal contact, professional involvement, and any attempt to interfere with the transition. My boundaries in writing." He stared at it like it was glowing. "You're serving me? No, I'm protecting myself and my company. This isn't personal, Trevor. It's structural." Finally, he took the envelope, hands trembling. "I thought what we had was real," he whispered. Morgan tilted her head. "I did too, until I saw the only real thing between us was your constant need to be rescued." He flinched. "You've always needed someone to save you from yourself," she said. "I just stopped applying for the position." He looked like he might cry, but no tears came. Just that hollow look men wear when they finally see the wreckage they created and realize nobody's coming with a broom. He backed down the steps, slow, stiff. No goodbye. No second try. The envelope hung from his fingers like it weighed 50 pounds. He crossed the sidewalk, climbed into a silver car that looked far too polished for a man who just lost his empire, and pulled away with the headlights still off, as if that would hide him. Morgan didn't speak until the taillights were gone. Then she turned back inside. I followed. She poured a glass of water in the kitchen, her hands steady, her jaw locked. "You good?" I asked. She nodded. He always talked like he was mapping our future, but it was only his. I leaned against the counter. "You did the right thing." She sipped, eyes steady. "I know." "Want to talk it out?" "Nope." That was that. She headed to bed. I stayed behind in the kitchen, staring at the envelope Trevor had tried to hand her, the one he folded and refolded like he couldn't decide if he had the guts to deliver it. I tossed it in the trash where it belonged. I kept my time at the mic short and got off before I made a fool of myself. Folks clapped anyway. Real claps, not the polite kind. Afterward, 3 teenagers, maybe 17 or younger, walked up to me. One girl with a buzz cut wearing a hoodie that read Future Engineer looked me straight in the eye. "I've never seen someone like me at a board table before," she said. I didn't know how to answer, so I just gave her a nod. Another kid asked if he could take a picture with me. "Sure," I said. He pulled out an old Android phone that looked like it had been dropped one too many times. Felt right that way. Later that day, Channel 5 News aired a segment titled "Mechanic Dad Turns Corporate Chair." They spelled my name wrong in the graphic, but I couldn't care less. I watched the clip from a folding chair outside the rec center while Morgan gave her interview. She looked calm, professional, but not polished fake. She was just herself. She always had been. By the time the volunteers loaded up the last boxes, it was only me and Morgan sitting in the shade of that tent. She handed me a small white envelope without a word. I opened it. Inside was a single house key and a folded deed. "Property title," I muttered, reading it. Both our names were printed on the front. "What's this?" I asked. "New house," she said. 4-bedroom, corner lot close by. My throat tightened. "Morgan, not repayment," she cut me off. "An upgrade, for both of us." I stared at the key. It felt heavy, though it wasn't. "So we're moving?" She shrugged. "We don't have to, but it's there if we want it." I nodded, still trying to breathe past the lump in my chest. We sat there listening to the wind and the occasional car passing by. No rush, no applause, just two people who'd spent years clawing forward, finally sitting still. And it felt earned. 18 months later, I was in the front row of a bright auditorium at the California State University, Sacramento. I wore a dark coat, tailored shoes, dressed better than I ever thought I'd be. The glass walls reflected the stage lights, and rows of business students scribbled notes like their futures depended on it. Morgan stood at the podium. Navy blazer, hair pulled back, nothing flashy, just calm authority. Same presence she'd carried into that boardroom a year and a half ago when she burned their house down without flinching. Her keynote was titled Strategic Patience, Winning by Watching. She spoke about timing, leverage, how to control a narrative, words I never had labels for, but instincts I'd lived by when I was working 3 jobs to keep us afloat. The students leaned in like she was rewriting the rules of waiting your turn. During Q&A, someone asked who had influenced her the most when she was starting out. She didn't even pause. I learned business from a man who never went to college, she said, but he taught me cost, value, and return better than any textbook. Her hand lifted slightly, and her eyes found me. The room clapped. Some students turned to stare. I didn't wave, didn't smile, just gave a nod, hands folded, steady. When the session ended, professors and program heads swarmed her with cards and coffee invites. I slipped out through the side door. Outside at the valet stand, I walked past a kid I recognized, the same one who had laughed at my beat-up truck at the wedding. He didn't know me now. He glanced at the coat, the shoes, and said, "Nice ride, sir." I handed him a 10. "Thanks," I said and kept walking. A town car idled at the curb. Morgan sat inside, finishing a bottle of water, phone buzzing with texts. She looked up when I climbed in. "You crushed it," I said. "I know," she said with a smirk, "but thanks." We pulled away in the flow of campus traffic. Neither of us spoke for a while. Finally, I turned toward the tinted window and muttered, "You didn't have to do all this." "You're right," she said. "I didn't. I wanted to." We hit a red light at the edge of campus. I glanced out and saw a billboard over the gas station where I used to scrape quarters for fuel. Big white letters on a navy backdrop, "Integrity is inherited." Mitchell Health Equity Fund. No logos, no design tricks, just words. I leaned back, shut my eyes. It wasn't revenge. It was resolution. That was what it felt like. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. And as always, thank you for watching.